welcome to the latest edition of Talk of the Trinity podcast. I am still Baz Barrett, and because we had a fantastic 50% success rate on predicting the right score of the Newcastle game, we've joined up again together, the original two, with my co-host, Mr. Trinity himself. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, you will see he's modeling some very delightful Talk of the Trinity merchandise. If that is not the perfect plug for our YouTube channel, I don't know what is. But this is normally the time of the show where I go through all of the places where you can find us on social media. But we have had a bit of an upgrade recently. So I am going to pass you straight over to our resident model, Mr. Trinity, to tell you about where you can find us after you've finished listening or watching to the show.
Thank you. Apart from wearing the t-shirt, I'm also wearing a lovely, I would say, dedication to Badly Drawn Boy with my tea cozy hat as well, obviously, because I'm going bold and I'm going grey as well. Anyway,
Younger
enough.
listeners might need to Google him, but I know who you mean.
Yeah, yeah. It's something to talk about,
Yep.
isn't it? Um, anyway, let's get back to the case at point. So you're watching us on YouTube potentially, and our YouTube handle is Talk of the Trinity 1874. Drop a like on the video, hit subscribe. You can then keep up to date with all of our latest YouTube content. We're on Instagram, Talk of the Trinity 1874. Really nice and easy to remember. We're on Threads as well. Talk of the Trinity. It could be 1874. I'm not sure about that one. We're on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Depends on how Elon's feeling that day, isn't it? And that's at Talk Trinity. And of course, you can also find us on really good podcast sites and some rubbish ones as well. We're on Spotify, we're on Amazon, we're on Apple, we're on Google, we're on Deezer, Geezer, Freezer, Teaser, Sleazer, anything else that ends in an ER and is a podcast site. But that's where we are. Come and find us. Show us how much you love the Villa. Listen to our opinions. Listen and agree. Listen and think, okay, yeah, fair opinion. Or do what some people have done and say, stick to your day job. I will do. Thank you. Nodded.
Well, such a wide range of opinions. We'll just go straight in with some more. Yeah, let's keep the fans happy, angry, indifferent, whatever it may be. And hopefully something that everybody will be happy about is the result on Thursday night in match day 8 of the Europa League group stage, where you would say it was a game of two halves, but it was really a game of one half, start the second, and then we decided to turn up. And what a end to the game it was. Villa coming back from 2 goals down to beat Salzburg 3-2. We have had not very many times where myself and Mr. Trinity have both been in the studio at the same time. Yesterday was an even rarer occurrence, as in we were both actually in the stadium at the same time. Mr. Trinity not living up to his namesake as he was in the hole, and I was in the dug. So
Wow.
disgraceful brand coordination all round there. But what wasn't disgraceful was the last half hour and the winning goal and everything else in between. How did you find the game, Will?
I found, before I get onto that, sorry, I found everybody's opinions of the game to be incredible because they're so indifferent to one another. I enjoyed the start of the game. I thought we started well. Obviously, Harvey Elliott had that chance, and if he was a bit sharper match wise, we might have been 1-0 nil up after 30 seconds. We were we were good for 5 or 10 minutes, really putting the pressure on, but then we took our foot off the gas a bit, and I felt that we were quite happy just to do that Villa thing in Europe where we give the ball to Emi Martinez and he has it at his feet for a long time. But we were doing it with Tyrone Mings. And then Tyrone obviously went, actually, do you know what? Let's make this shit interesting and help them get the opener. As much as Victor Lindelof tried his hardest to stop that.
That is one of the worst goal line clearance attempts I have seen.
Yeah, I think I was.
Especially as he was going wide as well, just to make it even worse.
Well, I was very close to. I was pretty much behind Tyrone Mings when he lost the ball there, and it was all quite fascinating. Then obviously Salzburg went 2-0 up, and you think, okay, Ollie's gone off. We've already brought Kashi on. What other subs do we have? Because all we need to do, and I don't know whether you felt this or whether other Villa fans felt this, and please let us know. We get one goal and we're getting a result. And whether that was a 2-2 or whether it was a 3-2 or a 4-2 win, it certainly felt as though we could get that win. We just needed that goal first. And I bumped into a couple of mates beforehand. Hello, Baileys. Thank you for listening, as you do. And they were very confident at the win. I was confident. The people I went with were, and obviously Rogers scored that beautiful goal. Great link-up play of Emi Buendia. Quite funny then, I found that he took Buendia off straight away. um,
Yep,
Tyrone
massive flip.
Mings with his redemption header, how he got that high up in the air. But Matty Cash's cross, and what a performance from Matty Cash. I'm sure we'll get back to that in a little while. But how nice was it to see Jamaldine, Jimo, Aloba stroking the third with such poise at the end of a game where we were really on top and we deserved to win in the end.
I think in terms of the overall pattern of the game as I saw it, yeah, we could have been ahead after, as you say, about after about 30 seconds. And I think that was about 5, 10 minutes of let's try and finish this off and early so we can all have a nice substitution round at half time.
Mhm.
Kind of settled into a bit of nothing. I mean, I would say in terms of you can never normally, you know, read a huge amount into when the team has been announced and the reactions and other such things. But Harvey Elliott got a very good reaction from the fans, I thought. And I think in terms of the fans were willing him to score. I think in terms of usually if you've got a player who's only played 5 games and the manager's decided he's not good enough and doesn't want him, usually the fans are of a feeling, oh, that's because he's crap, or they've seen him be crap, or there's usually kind of a reason why a manager kind of feels like that, and the
Yeah,
fans are usually on board. But the impression I get from most Villa fans is they kind of feel quite sorry for him, and they actually want him to do well. And I think in terms of, going to say, he showed it in flashes yesterday. He had a couple of chances, which with a bit of match fitness, as you say, he could have put away. But the save for his first one, it was like it's like the a cross between the Higuita and the worm in terms of how the goalie. It was like Buckaroo, actually. I mean, it's a fantastic save. If he meant it, which I'm not entirely convinced he did, but still a great save. And yeah, the game kind of then just settled into a yeah, we won't push it too much. Yeah, as you say, we gave him a com comedy goal, and yeah, it was kind of. I think after the second goal went in, I did kind of think, yeah, we might just kind of pack the troops up and go home, kind of here. But I think there was obviously all the attention will go on the youngsters who combined for the final goal. I think the subs at half time were yeah, we're going to stop messing around here and actually try and get a result. And as soon as the second goal went in, it did seem like, okay, yeah, we tried and that'll be it. But I think the first goal was the key one in cliche 101 because I do think Salzburg heads noticeably dropped at that point. I think you could see the oh shit,
mhm.
the momentum's coming now, and yeah, and I think in terms of in if we would have, you could tell from the players who came on in that kind of. I mean, we had the best 11 arguably in that 20-minute spell when it was we were 2-1 down arguably, but then in terms of whatever way you're looking at it. But yeah, I think once the momentum started shifting, especially when it was 2-2, I think yeah, there was only one winner in it at that point. And a nice story. First goal in front of the whole end. Um, you know, and importantly, in terms of there was a bit of debate about how much you care. about the game, how much you rest players, how much you do that. And you mentioned Watkins going off injured. People might say, well, that was, what are you playing him for? But the important thing shouldn't be overlooked is that winning the game guaranteed a second in the group, which guarantees us home legs second leg all the way through to the final if we make it that far. And we are, and well, can never really trust the bookies, but we are amongst the bookies' favourites to win the tournament. So I think that's really important in terms of getting that home leg advantage. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about the positives there, and I think overall you win a game in Europe at home 3-2 second. There's not really too much negative to dwell on particularly. I will throw a tentative toe out there in terms of Hemmings, who's made his first
Mhm.
start. Another player who got a very good reaction. Another player fans want to do well. Taken off at half time as one of the changes. Well, I mean, I'm going to say you can't judge a player off one performance in a not a fully strength team. So, we're not coming to any conclusions here. But I think in terms of even Salzburg, who I think most fans would admit, oh, they're okay,
Mhm.
not great, did struggle a bit, I thought. Was kind of my overall impression. But sometimes it's good experience in terms of not to, you know, come in all guns blazing, get a bit of a grounded reality. Still a long way to go in centre midfield.
Mhm.
No real place. You can't hide in centre midfield. And he didn't hide. He did his best. But yeah, I think in terms of the plan for him on the bench, coming on, getting minutes that way, I think that the 45 minutes show that that's still the way to go for him. What do you think? Two-footed, fair enough.
I think back to my playing days as a centre mid in the Central Warwickshire League for pub teams and how difficult it was in that for me when I was 17. And I imagine how difficult it would have been for him. But to be honest with you, no, respectfully, I disagree. I thought Hemmings played really well. I thought he got caught out a couple of times on the ball where he's a little bit slow, but he bodied their central midfielders at some points. He wasn't afraid to get stuck in and put the tackles in. He linked the play nicely. It was obvious he was going to start, wasn't it? From what Unai was saying, and maybe in retrospect, it would have been better to have been 3-0 up instead of 2-0 down, and then bring Hemmings on. But I think that Unai always had a plan, really, and maybe he had to execute it a little bit sooner than he'd have liked, with Cash coming on for Hemmings at half time and Bogard moving up alongside Anana, and eventually Lindelof going into that defensive midfield role. And how good a signing is Victor Lindelof? I'm sure we'll come to that at the end of the season and that, but I thought Hemmings did really well, and I feel I feel a bit sorry for him that he didn't get as much praise as say Jimo Aloba, and I feel a bit bad for Caden Young as well because he looked like a bright spark. He was happy to run at people. He got the assist also. For me, you know, Hemmings isn't going to be a starter this season or next season. I don't necessarily see him going out on loan either. Whereas there's talk about Jimo Aloba going to West Brom this evening, which is where we nicked him from, ironically. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I thought he did well. I give him a 7 out of 10, and would hope to see more of him in the league and in cups as the season goes on.
Yeah, but I mean, interesting in terms of loan moves. I wouldn't send him out on loan this season simply because we need the numbers.
Mhm.
In terms of next season, and evidently there's a big question mark of financial fair play and other such regulations, and whether we're in the Champions League or not governing spend over the summer. But if we've got the squad depth, I think next season I probably would send Hemmings out on loan to the Championship, and I think that would really build him up and hopefully put him in a good place to have a run at more of a role in the first team squad, first team potentially at
Yeah,
Villa long term.
I can understand the reasoning for that. And I think if he went and joined a higher end championship team and he was going to play every week, you you'd be on board. Unlike, say, Sver Nipan, who's gone to I hope I said his name right, who's gone to Middlesbrough from Man City, hasn't played every week, you know. But a lot of these youngsters nowadays, and with our links as well through V Sports, I wouldn't be overly objective to him going to the Bundesliga and playing there for a decent team for a season, or going to Liga 1 and playing there for a season in a decent team. Though I also think that if he stays around the squad, and if we did say a Man United, and this is one thing I do like this about Man United, and there's not a lot that I like about them. They have an academy player on the bench all the time. They've done it for something like 250 million years, ever since they had Terry Tyrannosaurus on the bench. You know,
Yep.
we could have him on the bench. He might not always come on in centre mid. He might come on in attacking mid. He might come on in a midfield three, just to get him used to games when we're comfortable and we're winning. But do you know what? I see your point, and if he can go somewhere and get a lot of game time, brilliant. But I wouldn't want him going any lower than championship level. And without
Oh yeah.
sounding horrible to Bundesliga and Liga, oh, they're better than the championship. But it would be round that level, or even going to La Liga and playing for one of the mid-table better sides there.
Yeah, you want him on loan at a competition that's going to test him. I
Yeah.
mean, in terms of we do have links kind of going through the football league. You know, so we got a very good one with Swindon. I think I wouldn't send him to Swindon. No disrespect to Swindon. Yeah, it does need that higher level, I think, because ultimately still highly regarded, highly rated, and we want him
Mhm.
to try and make the most of his potential. And I think in terms of you mentioned Lindelof, you mentioned there in terms of the signing. I mean, on a free transfer, so it's got to go very badly wrong for a free transfer to be a waste of money or
Mhm.
terrible. But I think you look back in terms of a few years ago, saying things such as decent value, going to fit in, can't really go much wrong with it. We were saying similar stuff about Callum Chambers a few years ago, weren't we? So I think in terms of this is how much you can see the progression in
Yes.
terms of we were quite happy with Callum Chambers when he came in for a few games a few years ago. But now the players who are kind of coming in on a free doing a job in the squad is Lindelof. And I think in terms of you mentioned Man United and one of the things you like about them, don't like very much. I would not disagree with that view. But one of the things, whether you'd say like or you have to respect about Man United when they were winning trophies consistently in the Ferguson era, is obviously they had star players in the starting 11. You could spend most of podcast reeling them off. The Giggs, the Van Nistelrooys, the Rooneys, the Ferdinands, all the star
Yeah.
players. But the real, like the main engine room ticking over reason why Man United were successful at that level consistently for as long as they were under Ferguson was the Darren Fletchers, the John O'Shea's, the Park Ji Sungs, the players who could just come in and do it without even really looking, play 20 games in the season because of the rotation of the squad and the overall quality of the team not dipping particularly. That's how they united. That's a real, well, not a real strength, but in terms of a strength they had that other teams didn't, which is why other teams weren't able to be as consistent as Man United. When you see in terms of, that's where we want to aim high for Villa, and that's where you want to aim. in terms of to be able to come in with a squad, and I think we've mentioned in terms of previously when everybody's fit, we've got that squad depth. It's just trying to build on that, and you got players like Lindelof. They would fall into the category. I mean, another player you like, I know you rate highly, Bogard played last night. He fits into that category as well, I'd say.
Mhm.
So it's trying to build those players who can pop in, rotate, and get the job done. And we got the job done yesterday by hook or by crook. And speaking of rotation, and in terms of changing the team, brings us on nicely to Sunday's game at home against Brentford, 2 o'clock at Villa Park. And at time of recording, ahead of the weekend's fixtures. So we are all in giddy anticipation in terms of what will be going on over the weekend before Villa play. Well, at time of recording, Brentford are eighth in the Premier League on 33 points, 4 points off fifth. Their season success has largely been based on their home form, as Villa found out early on in the season. They are
Yeah.
fourth in the home league table over the course of the season, 24 points from 12 games. Mass fans will tell you that is 2 points a game and is good. Their away form, 16th in the form table, in the total away table, 9 points from 11 games. So can very much tell where the strength is. And in terms of Brentford generally, they won a very good run up until relatively recently when they were on a six-match undefeated streak, which was burst by Chelsea. And then in what perhaps could, if you're looking for foresight, foreshadowing a potentially more damaging result, was at home to Nottingham Forest last week when they lost 2-0. So Brentford, we've given you the numbers. We'll go for the feels now. What are your thoughts on Brentford?
I honestly thought at the start of the season, and I think we thought this a season or two ago, that Brentford would desperately struggle. I think we both had them finishing about fourth bottom in a Premier League predictor a couple of seasons ago or last season. I thought that they would finish comfortably bottom three with Keith Andrews taking over. I was thinking, why have you brought in your set piece coach to be your head coach? But do you know what? Fair play to Brentford because to be eighth in the league with the lack of money that they've got,
Yep.
but
Set piece league now. The right time.
yep, definitely. And I mean, they've only really brought in Watara from from Bournemouth, and he was their big signing over the summer, and he obviously started very well because he scored against us straight away. They brought in Jordan Henderson, who is doing Jordan Henderson things. He's not setting the world alight, but he's doing enough to probably get into that 26-man England squad for the World Cup. They've got a few other players who are very good. Rate Damsgaard highly. I think he's a good crafty midfielder. I don't mean that he likes to do arts and crafts or he's a bit of a snide. You know what I mean? Keane Lewis Potter, he's done very well ever since he joined them from Hull. And Kelleher, a decent goalkeeper too, who was
Yep.
going there to replace Flecken, who was meant to be joining the Villa,
Yep.
if that's to be believed. So I think really they've overachieved this season. And it's a shame to say that because Brentford for the last few years have been mid-table, if not trying to push on, and they're finally doing it, and they're getting to probably where they should be. But it does really feel as though they're overachieving, all because they've got Keith Andrews as their manager, which is a massive disrespect. And I don't mean it to Brentford at all, but fair play to them. And if they can keep the home form up and if they can carry on with the away form like it is, that would be great. And we might see them challenging for those Europa Conference League spots.
I mean, I think in terms of you look at the players who they lost in the summer, and Bueno
Hmm.
and Wissa, that was basically all their goals. And
Yeah,
so I think, and Norgard went to Arsenal just for, for a nice day trip, really. I don't think he's done too much at Arsenal, but th those were pretty much Brentford's main threats
Yeah,
for a number of years, and so I think that was the main reason why the quite a lot of the pundits were thinking, yeah, they are going to struggle here. I mean, it's a logical conclusion to reach. So I agree with you in terms of they have overachieved in terms of those expectations and losing those goals. I mean, in terms of certainly has helped that they already had a ready-made replacement in the wings with Thiago up front, top
yeah.
scoring Brazilian in Premier League
He's
season.
got the most goals in a Premier League season, hasn't he, for a
Yep,
Brazilian?
yep,
16 in 23 games he's got. And then the next highest scorer is Kevin Schade with 6 goals in 22 games. And Kevin Schade gets a hat trick every season. So the most he's scored in is 4 games. But yeah, Thiago as well has been heavily linked with the Villa as an Ollie Watkins replacement. But that might not be the case anymore, which I'm sure we'll chat about soon.
yep. So I think in terms of they got yeah they considering they sold their two best players, they've got a decent starting 11 and a decent decent 16, 18, and it's always in terms of trying to understand that disconnect between their home and away form. I mean, you would have thought in terms of mid-table for both, but kind of Champions League for one, near the bottom for the other. So it Brentford, if as you alluded to, way looking for the omens in terms of two defeats on the bounce, not the greatest in terms of way form, although no, in the topsy-turvy nature of this league, they had won their previous two away games at Everton and at Wolves.
Mhm.
So they'd been picking up a little bit of steam away from home previously. Otherwise, yeah, they were in the bottom in terms of their away form. So they're picking up a bit. But in terms of we said nice things about Brentford. So well, apart from you basically insulting their manager and again encouraging loads of hate mail from any
Sorry,
Brentford fans
sorry,
listening.
Keith.
I, I will say in terms of, you know, he was there at the club. Set piece is important. He was always always going to take the job if he was offered it. Might not have been potentially on too many other short lists. But in terms of for he's doing a good job, and in terms of his good mates with Liam Rossini, if he can get kind of keeping those good books, he might get on that Chelsea ownership merry-go-round. He might be the next manager of Strasbourg. I mean Gary O'Neill's there, so currently, so in terms of you know, quite literally stranger things have happened. So there we go. But hopefully there won't be too many strange things going on from a Villa perspective at Villa Park on Sunday. And Friday night evening, we mentioned we can say one player who definitely will not be playing on Sunday, which may be to the delight of Dave, our co-host, who has you may know his opinion if you've listened to a few of the shows previously about Gesson. Just when you thought he was staying, he's been I would say taken out the back, but that sounds a bit dramatic. But he's been escorted out of the building, down to Selhurst Park, and he's gone there on loan with a option to buy. We understand rather than an obligation to buy. Perhaps you would. Maybe that deal was done before the Watkins injury. I mean, in terms of the pre-match press conference, it was pretty much when asked about Watkins, a bit of a shrug of the shoulders from Emery. Basically, we don't know yet.
Mhm.
So you might take that as a good sign instead of already being able to say, yeah, he's out for weeks. And logically, you would think if there are any long-term concerns, you might have kept Gesson around, just in terms of squad depth. So hopefully in that sense, it might be Watkins isn't injured too long. But I suspect the deal was put in motion after the conclusion, and we talked about it in the previous podcast, of the move for Tammy Abraham. And with Watkins injured, with the I will look over to our official legal representative not me. Is the registration complete for Abraham to play on Sunday?
It appears to be complete for him to play on Sunday. I mean, it looks as though we could have three of the lads back at Villa Park that some of them haven't graced the sacred ground for 6 months or so when you think about Leon Bailey. Um, Tammy should be back. I know that he was meant. It's been mentioned since on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now. I haven't checked in the last 5 minutes, but apparently Ollie Watkins, there's no obvious injury to his hamstring, and it looks as though he'll be fine for Sunday. And of all the games that he'd want to play in, that's the one he'd want to play. Personally, though, I think that Emery might be a little bit smart with this and say to Watkins, look, you'll get on. You'll get 30 minutes at the end. I might even give you a partner up front as well at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tammy Abraham start in that game against Brentford. I mean, do you think it's what? Do you think that would be a wise move from Unai, or do you think it's too soon and he either needs to go with Ollie Watkins or our superstar number 27 who can play anywhere by the looks of it, Morgan Rogers?
If there's any doubt about Watkins' fitness, I'd play Abraham. I'd have no doubt for him in that. And also, I- I'm sure other people have pointed this out, but I saw it in a post from Matt Kendrick. You'd want Abraham to play simply because, apart from the left back, Villa could field an entire starting 11 of players who were at the club when Dean Smith was manager. So with Louise coming back and Abraham coming back, Matt Kendrick's post put a joke in reference to getting Matt Target back to complete the Dean Smith set. But in terms of Abraham, I mean, in terms of he's match fit, he doesn't need too much introduction to the English game, so I wouldn't really feel too concerned about playing. And I think, a home game against Brentford, perfect fixture to start in
Mhm.
really. So I wouldn't be surprised if he played. I mean, Louise, doesn't look like we can wait any longer to get him in the team in terms of the injuries. And, in terms of he knows the system. So, there's not going to be that acclimatization period. I mean, there might, in terms of because you know, we're not just a football show. Is his partner still Alicia Lehman?
I don't believe so.
Because I know she just joined Leicester. So I was going to say if they were together, she might be pretty upset he didn't give her a heads up for a couple of weeks. So, come back to Villa rather than go to Leicester. But, it doesn't sound like that is going to be an issue. And also won't be an issue if Louise plays because he can just slot straight in to the midfield. And I'd expect if he's fit, he's going to play, I would say. But you threw about would I play Abraham? I'll throw it out to you. Would you play Louise if he's fit?
100%. I'd put Dougie Luiz in. I mean, you look at what people have said on Twitter and X, Instagram, wherever you look about Dougie Luiz. And when we were linked with him, there was a fair bit of negativity, I thought, in the terms of he was rubbish when Kamara wasn't next to him. Kamara's out for the season. Why are we bringing him in? The thing is now, when he didn't have Kamara next to him, he had Tielemans who wasn't at the standard he's at now, and both of them are similar players. This time round, he's going to either have Amadou Onana, who's a different player to him, and Onana very much a breaker up a play, but can carry that ball forward and offers a goal threat. Dougie Luiz, I'd expect to sit and patrol the middle of the park, not as a defensive midfielder. I don't think either of them are. But when you're on Football Manager and you've got central midfielder, that's Dougie Luiz.
No.
And if not, he's got Bogard who can play next to him, who would be the tackler. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think you get. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dougie Luiz slipping a through ball for Tammy Abraham to latch onto and score in front of the whole end at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It was a no-brainer to bring it back, especially as Harvey Elliott has found out to his cost. Emre has very high standards and demands and tactical demands about what he expects his players to be able to do in his system. And Louise knows the system. So in the middle of a season where the games are coming thick and fast, and in terms of a lot of, a lot of work on the training ground for Villa, is largely going to be recovery based work, in the Thursday, Sunday schedule. So there's not going to be too much high intensity training, not too much opportunity for somebody new to come in and get up to speed with Emre's tactical demands. So yeah, I think it was an absolute, as to use your phrase, absolute no-brainer to bring it back. And all hands on deck currently. In terms of, well, what's the worst? I won't say what the worst that can happen is, because you can have all sorts of scenarios. But I think in terms of, for a team struggling with the financial regulations still, to get a player in on loan with, don't know if that would even count towards any transfer fees for the year. I'm sure we've structured the deal kind of in a very Villa friendly way. Yeah, I can't argue with it. I think it's a good deal.
Do you expect Dougie Luiz to be a first teamer in the central midfield now, with Kamara out, with Tielemans out, with McGinn out? Even when they come back, do you think it will be Louise and Anana together, or do you think Ross Barkley comes back into the team, or do you see maybe McGinn or Tielemans moving into centre mid when they're fit?
I think they'll rotate when everybody's fit. I mean, I think in terms of, well, the talk is that Barkley could be ready to go on Sunday, or
Mhm.
at least potentially off the bench. I think he'll rotate Barkley and Louise as the current people standing at the moment, and then I think when McGinn and Tielemans are back, yep, Tielemans will. I mean, it'll be opposition dependent. In terms of Tielemans, will have a go back there. McGinn hasn't quite so much, but do I see Louise been in the first 11 every single week when everybody's fit? I, Probably not. But then, we don't need him to be. In
Mhm.
terms of, hopefully we're going on a run in Europe at least. We'll see how the FA Cup takes us. But in terms of, you'd expect Louise to play at least 15 games, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Um, I'd more than happy to take that. Um, in terms of the rest of the starting 11 for Sunday, building from the back as we occasionally fail to do on Thursday, as successfully as we mentioned previously. Martinez, we didn't talk about him particularly in the Salzburg build-up, but in the preview, in third time lucky, the review, the Salzburg review, we didn't talk about him too much then, but that was Exhibit A for why you want Martinez in your first team and want him around the squad, because he had a very good game, I thought, on Sunday. So, first choice,
Yeah.
stay in the team for Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I felt a bit sorry for Marco Bizot not getting into the team, but Emery wanted to win, didn't he? He wanted to get top two. I, I, I don't think Martinez plays every single round of the FA Cup or the Europa League going forward, and Marco Bizot as well will be hoping to play so that he can get to the World Cup with the Netherlands, potentially as a third choice keeper or second choice keeper. But yeah, Emi Martinez, I think when he's on form like he was last night, because he made some great saves, then he's a no-brainer again, to use that term.
Nope. And I think looking at the starting 11 for the Salzburg game, you'd say the back four for Sunday is potentially a no-brainer, just based on, because that was fully rotated. So you would expect Madsen, Torres, Konza, Cash. I'd expect that to be the back four.
Yep, yeah, spot on. I agree. I think Ian Matson is fast becoming the number one choice left back. Pau Torres, you see how, you know, Tyrone Mings is a great defender, amazing strength, brilliant leader, brilliant person, it appears. Pau Torres, when he gets the ball at his feet, he moves it a lot quicker than Tyrone Mings, and that just helps us. And we probably needed that at times last night. Esri Konsa, Rolls Royce, Matty Cash having the season of his life so far this year. So, yeah, that back four picks itself. And for the rest of the season in the Premier League, providing that they stay fit.
Yeah. I thought Cash had Rabona his cross at first instance last night, but he just slipped. But it was still a great cross considering he was completely losing control. We talked briefly about, that centre midfield. For me, if Anana's fit, he plays
Yeah,
tomorrow, and then you got a choice of potentially three, depending what way you're looking at. You got Bogard, Louise, and you could potentially have a wild card in there. Or is it just a simple straight choice between Bogard and Louise in your mind?
I'd go with Barkley and Lindelof personally. No, I'd put Hemmings in. No, I
Barkley
could,
was the third one I was struggling to, even though I just talked about him 2 minutes ago. Yeah, them guys.
Anana and Louise go in for me, and I think it's slack on Bogard. I hate the negativity around him. You know, he struggled at right back a bit yesterday, but he showed again his class in centre mid. His progressive passing when he's got pressure on him, he's in the 90s. And for somebody as young as he is to be doing that in the Premier League when they don't have a lot of Premier League experience, I think is testament to him as a player. But Dougie Luiz comes in, gives it that lift, that feel good factor. And Amadou Onana, the season he's having when he's fit, he needs to be in that centre midfield as well.
Yep. I mean, as I said, I like Bogard as a squad player. He comes in, does a job, gives the proverbial 100%. And I think with the injuries we've got, we kind of need players like him who can fill in the number of positions in and around the squad. Could be a nice little tenuous link to our front four or
Hmm.
the three. Or is it a front four? Well, it will be a front four because maths dictates we've got four players left to go. But in terms of if it's a three behind the main striker, or whether it's going to be two up front, I suppose in terms of you expecting that tactical shift to two up front, or do you think at this stage it is just going to be the main one focal point up front?
I think it would just be the one. I think it'd be Tammy. I think that if they're going to shift to that at any point, we might see Watkins moving in from off the left to create a front two as he did at Brentford previously, and I think it takes a little bit of pressure off him as well. But no, I see it being Tammy Abraham with three behind him going into the weekend, and I think the three behind him, there's probably only a choice of four, and you can rule one of them out straight away with Unai Emery's comments. Oh, sorry, five, and you can rule one of them straight away with Unai Emery's comments.
John McGinn.
Yeah, yeah, John McGinn. I mean, I put onto the Instagram page earlier. For me, I'd have Emi Buendia on the left. I think Buendia's doing well. You know, he's industrious, he's creative. He's one of the only attacking midfielders that you will see putting a slide tackle. Morgan
Yeah.
Rogers, I'd put him in the centre against Brentford rather than on the left, but I imagine that that'll be interchangeable. Rogers has been so inspirational in these last few months since that Tottenham goal away. He's been he's been incredible. But for me, as much as I'd love to see Harvey Elliott play because I thought he did very well the other night, I don't think he will. I don't think Leon Bailey starts either. I'd stick with Jadon Sancho. I think Jadon Sancho recently has found his place in the team. And surprisingly, as good as he is on the left, linking up with Martson, he seems to be even better on the right hand side, cutting in, getting into central positions. He's scored a goal against Fenerbahce, and he seems to be that little bit more creative in the final third. Is that the three that you think will line up behind a striker? And do you think it'll be Tammy or are you going Ollie?
I think you play Tammy, don't you, really? As you say, for the feel good factor. And if there's any doubt about Watkins, which we don't need to risk him, I don't think. Um, you'd hope we'd be able to at least get enough of a head start before bringing him on if you were going to bring him on. I mean, I think as you alluded to earlier, I think you bring him on just because it's Brentford,
Mhm.
just because he will not need any encouragement at all to put on a show against. Well, it's not, I would say it's former employers. I don't think it's Brentford that he has a problem with. I think it's the fans in terms of the reaction that they've given him when he gets back. So maybe you were right to slag Keith Andrews off earlier. Swerve. We're an unsympathetic bunch when it comes to it. But I think in terms of Harvey, as I said earlier, I think most fans, Villa fans, think it's a shame about Harvey Elliott because they can see he can contribute, and in terms of, I think it's 4 games left for him to play to trigger the deal. In terms of, do I think Elliott could do if you took that
Hmm.
clause out of it? Do I think Harvey Elliott could contribute in more than 4 games in the rest of the season? Yeah, yeah, I do. So that is a situation, unfortunately, where and you could very easily say it's our fault because we put this clause in the contract, so we should have known better. But
Yeah,
in terms of nobody's winning out of this because, well, he's not winning because he's not playing every week. And I think in terms of his hope was this would be the move that would get him in the World Cup squad. And barring something completely unforeseen, that is not going to happen now.
yeah,
Villa are losing because we got a player who we actually probably could do with playing in the second half of the season, but we're not going to for financial reasons. And Liverpool are losing because they've got a player who value you expect is significantly is less than what it was at the start of the season. So it's you usually have a win-win or a lose-lose or a win-lose situation. This situation is unique and it's lose-lose-lose. It's just kind of lose all over the place. And I think in terms of ultimately returning to your question, do I play Sancho? I do in this scenario. Yeah, I think he had a slightly quiet night yesterday, but I think in terms of you got to build him up. As you say, the Fenerbahce game, you're hoping is going to be the turning point in terms of his confidence, and Emre appears to have seen that game as a turning point. So I think in terms of you just got to get him playing, got to get him fit, and I think well, he's fit, but kind of consistently 90 minutes in the team or as many minutes as we need him to play. With Guesson gone as well, now you're gonna have to get him. He's gonna have to play more, especially if we're not playing Elliott. So yeah,
yeah.
I would play him tomorrow. It'd be interesting when Bailey's a bit more fit in terms of I could see him coming into the starting 11 as a special guest star. I'd say slightly less than Louise, but I think he will play a part just again because he knows the system and we've got him. But yeah, I mean, in terms of even with a few injuries, got some decent attacking options still. And now we know we got a couple of kids who have now the bit between the teeth in terms of Holt and Glory. And hope, and I would be very happy if the end of the game Brentford are going, we would have got away with it if it wouldn't have been for those pesky kids, if they come on at the end. But pre-shadowing in terms of what the fans will be saying and thinking at the end of the game. Prediction time. What are you thinking in terms of the score?
Well, I'm always positive, and no, not for those reasons. I'm positive in regards to the result, and whilst I do feel, but I feel similar to last season that we look like we could concede a goal, but I don't worry that we're going to concede a number of goals. I think Brentford will score. Thiago most likely will get that goal, though. It's the sort of game that Kevin Schade will pop up in and score. I think, though, that we'll be absolutely fine. And I see it being a repeat of last season, a nice 3-1 victory for the Villa. Tammy Abraham scoring um, at least one goal and us getting that win and continuing to pile the pressure on at the top end of the table.
I mean, it's interesting in terms of the defense because there is that general feeling of there might be a goal in there for the opposition somewhere. But very well organised, excellent performance away at Newcastle on last Sunday for the clean
Yeah,
sheet. And in terms of, we are the third best defense in the league in terms of goals conceded on 25, it's tied with Chelsea. Arsenal best with 17, Man City with 21. So last season, I think it was a defense where you thought we were going to concede a goal every game, and we invariably did.
yeah,
This year, it is a situation where you kind of think the same, but it is a bit, the numbers are a bit better than kind of what you think. And, in terms of stats and eyes can tell you two very different things. In terms of goals conceded at home, nine, which is tied second lowest. Man City, Arsenal conceded eight. Sunderland, the other team who conceded ninth. And because we're generous, we'll give a nice shout out to Sunderland. They are the only undefeated team at home still in the Premier League this season. Good for them. We'll beat
well
them.
done.
We will beat them at Villa Park when they come. But will we win on Sunday, in my view? And in terms of, I did predict Villa to lose last week at Newcastle. When I saw the team sheet for that Newcastle game, I did think, actually, I think I've got this one wrong here, and then it turned out. But hopefully, I don't have the same feeling again on Sunday because I'm going to go for a Villa win. And having trumped up the Villa defense, not in that way. I'm going to go 2-0. I'm going to go. I will jump on your bandwagon of earlier, and a Louise through ball to Abraham will be one of the goals. Let's say in front of the hole. Let's complete that pretty picture. But yeah, I think it is going to be a home win for Villa, and we'll continue the good times rolling in terms of the home form if we ignore everything. And in terms of, we will take a leaf out of and just no in-depth analysis. We'll go for just off the cuff, straight thinking, because in terms of the the press, keep trying to say or create the story. We're in the title race. It's not over. Yep, kind of all that. Obviously, in terms of, again, this is a great show for mass fans. In order to win the league, you need to get more points than the other teams or score more goals. It's all about numbers. So 4 points off top. Arsenal top, Man City second. We think Villa are going to win on Sunday. Leeds Arsenal. Score?
Oh, at Leeds,
Yep. 3 o'clock on the Saturday.
Arsenal rested a lot of players in the week, got that 3-2 win. Kai Havertz scoring his first goal in quite a long time. I think that we see Arsenal get a win there. Yeah.
Okay. And Sunday, 4:30, Spurs Man City at Spurs.
Ah, I mean, that's an interesting one because Spurs are rubbish in the league. They're poor at home. Man City aren't exactly amazing at the moment, but it's not Bodo Glimt away for them. I'm going to go for a City win, unfortunately, as much as it pains me to say.
There you go. Still 4 points. No change at the top. But in terms of what will be changing constantly with all of the stuff going on with Villa, what will be changing is our social media. All of the updates, all of the previews. And because he did such an excellent job of running through it earlier in the show in terms of all our social media channels, I will pass over to Mr. Trinity to run through again where you can find as much Talk of the Trinity content as your heart desires.
Well, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere. We're like the Tyrone Mings of Aston Villa podcasting or video casting. We're on YouTube at Talk of the Trinity 1874. It's the same handle for our Instagram page. We're also on Threads, which is that weird Instagram thing. We're on Twitter at Talk Trinity. You can find us on all of the best and all of the worst podcasting sites. But not just that. You're going to want to stick with us because not just for our views, where you're probably thinking some of the times, God, what are these lads talking about? It's hilarious. It's like a comedy sketch at the Glee Club, isn't it, listening to these two? Well, we're going to have some guests on the show. We've spoken to other podcasters. We're going to be getting Paddy for the Love of Paul McGrath on at some point in the future. We've got Andy Dale, who is sorting out Just 14, the movie, and he sent me these lovely books. Andy, thank you very much for these. I've not started reading them yet because I'm still reading Guillaume Barrier's book. I haven't got to the bit where it mentions me yet, but I've seen the bits where it mentions you, Baz. It doesn't mention Dave, but you know, new signing and all that. And we will also, we're in negotiations to have a former villain, yes, a former Premier League villain on the show. We'll release more of that information in the coming days. Once we've got that 100% confirmation coming. But until next time, he has been Baz Barrett. I am Will Forrest. You can call me Mr. Trinity. You can call me what you like. I respond to most things. Let's be hoping that at the weekend that there is still a worldwide B crisis. No, sorry, a Premier League B crisis, and that Brentford continue their current form of losing, especially when they come to the Midlands. And of course, we all need to do a Tammy Abraham and manifest that Dougie Louise pass and the Abraham finish. And just like Dougie Louise, we'll have sleepless nights thinking about the Villa. Cheers, sir. Thank you very much. Up the Villa.